In December, Illinois House Minority Leader Tony McCombie was part of a bipartisan Midwest delegation of lawmakers who visited Israel at the invitation of the State of Israel Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Leader McCombie joins us to talk about her trip, her support of Israel, and a House resolution she's sponsoring in the 104th Illinois. Before we get into what you saw on the trip, what took place on the trip, why is it important for a leader like yourself from state legislature in Illinois to take this trip?
Well, I'll be honest, this is my first trip, so I actually had to go get my passport to be able to do this. I think after October 7th, and understanding and seeing what happened there in their country, after especially the pain you felt and remember you felt at 9/11, when I had the opportunity to go, and they're always so gracious to us here in Springfield and coming to visit. I felt that I needed to go to learn more, kind of like when I went on the border trip. It's like you hear things, but to really understand it, you have to see it, and so for me, that's why it was important. And they really had a nice bipartisan, bicameral group of Midwestern policy legislators.
You saw the attack sites of the Hamas terrorists. Tell us about them.
Yeah, that was a very hard day, very emotional. I don't know why I just all of a sudden got teary-eyed for a second. That was a very emotional day. We were there. We went to a kibbutz and kind of think of it as a subdivision for non-Jewish folks especially. Think of it as a subdivision, and this particular one we visited had 217 homes. Okay. So at 6:30 in the morning, Hamas comes and attack. They are very close to the border. There's a fence there, and you can see that right across the street. They're a very loving and believe in peace and believe that Hamas and everybody, they're neighbors, and have actually welcomed them into their homes. And because of that, they knew more about that area than others, and were able to plan for this attack. So out of 217 homes, only 6 were not destroyed. And we literally walked right through them. And it was, just think of a beautiful area where you can think about kids playing and, senior citizens out gardening or having coffee and talking to their neighbors. And you are literally walking through their paths. And they take us into the homes and tell us the story. The daughter of one of the kidnapped parents, the mother is now back. She actually took us on the tour, and I almost feel like she felt guilty. She was actually gone that day with her granddaughter, and to feel, why not me, and why her parents and her dad is still there, and her son is actually in Tel Aviv working on getting the hostages back as well. But this place was completely burnt up. You saw yellow flags, black flags, yellow being they were taken, black they were killed, and then you saw yellow with blue, like marks, like squares on them, and those folks had been returned. The very next day that we were there, they were starting to tear down and rebuild. And it's just a community of loving, resilient people, and still there was some folks from the Army was there. There was other groups there visiting. And you could see when she saw somebody that lived there or knew somebody, that everything would stop and they would just hug, and you could just feel the love, but also you could feel the terror, and that was brutal.
Some of the stories you were talking before we started recording were just heart-wrenching. You were talking about a little girl.
Yeah, that was at the police station at Sadeh Road, and you think about what we do when we're thinking we're going to be harmed. We go to the police station, and this police station was taken over by the Hamas, and a little 6-year-old girl, well, eventually they did take over the police station, and they actually ended up bombing the police station with all of the Hamas inside because they knew they were there. I think about 72 people were killed there that day, but people would go there asking for help and be murdered, no different than at a a roadblock. And this little girl, her parents were killed, and she was in the back seat with her baby sister, somehow not sacrificed. And a police officer from Israel opened up and she said, "Are you police from Israel?" 6-year-old. And so at that police site, there's columns with lights and quotes of things that people have said and different things. And you hear her little voice, because they caught that on the body cams of her saying, "Are you the police? Are you from Israel? I have a baby here." And it was her little sister. So, a lot of stories of heroism that people aren't talking about. And I think that was the goal of the trip. They invite people like me and all around the nation to talk about it and tell the story that is true, because it's not what you're necessarily hearing here. And in America, and what's happening to the Jewish community is just horrible.
You go to the festival site?
At our eye level was pictures, like probably poster-sized pictures of the people that were killed there. And some of them had stories underneath their picture, and it started by the parents. So you literally are looking at eye level across this field, and it's like all of these people have been killed. And it's, it's something that when you go into a cemetery and you have that feeling, but it looks like people standing there. And it is now going to be a memorial site, and it was pretty amazing. We didn't spend a lot of time there, but we had somebody from the Army there who talked to us about that day, and that was also pretty enlightening. Also it's just like the respect during war, right? You never attack an ambulance. You never, you let that stuff go through. There was none of that from Hamas. As a matter of fact, they saw people hiding behind an ambulance and destroyed it, blew it up. And that ambulance was at the site with all of the cars that they had collected. Also became a memorial site that they didn't know that they were building with all of the cars that they had been picked up. Cars that had people in them, people that had been killed, raped, murdered, and were booby-trapped by, whether it was a grenade putting them inside of their bodies, so the moment they moved. So it's also, too, what they did to the dead, with no respect for the dead even. They were talking about at the site of the car that they could take 7 hours just to try to get the ashes of the different individual people so they could bury them and have that respect for them that they tried to do for them. It was a lot. It was a very emotional day.
It had to be. 100 hostages remain in Gaza, including 7 Americans. Did you get a chance to talk to family members?
We did when we were in Tel Aviv, and we were hoping to actually speak to some of that were a little closer, but they feel they are getting close. They hope they are getting close with the new administration. Never said President-elect Trump's name, but kept talking about the new administration. They feel that there will be a release, and with a release, there would be a ceasefire. They were adamant there will be no ceasefire until the hostages are back, and I have to agree with that. So we did talk to the grandson of the grandpa that is still there, and his grandma was released within, I think it was like 17, 18 days, and 82 years old.
Just amazing. You have been vocal in your support for Israel. Solidify that for you when you went over there?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I hope this time we have some members from the other side of the aisle join in on that. We have Jewish members. We went to Israel with Bob Morgan and Tracy Katz-Moll, also Comptroller Mendoza, who has been also very verbal of her support. This is a political issue for the Democrat caucus. After seeing what I saw, it shouldn't be. Everybody that thinks that Hamas is not a terrorist organization, or that there is to be some two-state solution, or there should be a ceasefire, those are the folks that need to go over there and see this firsthand.
What does your resolution do? What does it say?
Basically, recognizes October 7th, the 1,200 people killed, and just our support of Israel and the Jewish community.
There was more than just the attack, the Hamas stories and things of that nature. You got to meet with members of the Knesset?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we also went to the floor, sat in their gallery. They don't have Republicans and Democrats. They have a whole bunch of people in their parliament. So it's, you could have one person, I could be in whatever party and I could be there. But we did talk to some leaders. They also stated that they hope with the new administration that he finishes what he started. And I think that's peace through strength.
Did you hear anything from them about what has taken place here in the United States, the protests and things of that nature?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things when we were speaking with people at Parliament was what's next for Gaza? Mm-hmm. Because, it's not going to be Israel taking it. It's not going to be Turkey. It's who is going to take Gaza. And one of the things with us coming back is they wanted us to talk about it. They wanted me to talk to you. They wanted us to have it put out because they don't understand in America the pieces of information that is picked up on purpose, for purpose, to generate hate here in America for Jews. And I don't understand it, how that happens and how kids, Americans, also anybody that lives here and believes what's going on there is the right thing to be doing or killing Jews, they also need to go there. Because I tell you what, we had a very good trip. We were very protected. We were in an organized situation, but I was certainly glad to be home in America.
I can imagine. So you mentioned the word tourism. Every year it seems like I am approached by people from my church or an organization. We need to go on that trip to Israel. We need to go. That is one of their big staples of their economy is tourism. Mm-hmm. How has that been affected?
Well, we went to Jerusalem. That was where we started our trip, and pretty amazing. I mean, whoever thought, and I never thought in a million years I would see the tomb of Jesus Christ or be able to touch the stone where he bled from the crucifix. I was like, is this real?
Okay, as far as security is concerned, you were very secure. You were well protected. Mm-hmm. What's it like for the ordinary citizen there? Well,
you would see anybody walking down the street. I have a picture of a dad, a 3-year-old probably, toddling along with him, and he had a gun slapped on his back. Everybody, I think, was pretty well aware of their surroundings, but living life. There is no stopping the heart of the folks of Israel and the Jewish community. I mean, they are trying to live their lives. They are living their lives. They went back to work. They're doing what they can to bring back the hostages, to have economic development. And that was another thing, too, we went and visited. It is also, I hadn't realized, such an entrepreneurial country. Right. And, they have world-class doctors. So there's a lot of things that Israel offers to the world. And I think that's also why they're such a partner to people in the world.
We thank Leader McCombie for being with us today and sharing details of her trip. And we want to thank you for joining us. You can keep up with what's happening with the Illinois House Republican Caucus by going to ilhousegop.org.